My name is Jerry Keenan. I'm a residential social worker. Now, the difference between a residential social worker and a field social worker is that we work in a residential unit with kids aged between 12 to 18, the day before their 18th birthday. Mixed gender, boys and girls, 5 only in a unit. By law, you're only about 5 in the unit. My job entails, each child has a key worker and a co-worker. And I'm co-worker to a female resident. And my job as a key worker and residential social worker is I look after the day-to-day runs like your parents or your primary caregivers would, like education, employment, if needs be over 16, behavioural issues. Sometimes we have to supervise contact with parents or primary caregivers. We look after health. We look after, unfortunately sometimes some of our kids get involved in criminality and we are involved with courts and PSNI. We work closely, we're multidisciplinary. We would work with field social workers. Each child has a field social worker who holds statutory responsibility. In other words, they will make the decisions as regards their contact with the parents or primary caregivers. Mine is the day-to-day running of their life, transporting and all other aspects of their life. There are approximately 11 social workers in my full-time social workers, 1 part-time, and then we have a range of bank staff. These are people who will come in and do weekends for us and nights. There has to be 2 social workers in the unit at all times. One of them must be a qualified social worker. Let me think what else. We do 24/7, 365. The unit is their home, is the kids' home. So there are 2 of us on sleep duties every night, 2 different people on sleep duties. It averages about 2 sleep duties a week, sometimes 3. And you start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you work till 3 the next day. So you do a 25-hour shift. We have a team leader, Johnny, and we have a deputy team leader, Martina. We have a part-time secretary. She works in conjunction with another part of the thing. We have a housekeeper who essentially does our laundry, helps the kids do the laundry, and makes us our dinner, makes us our breakfast and our dinner.
Is there a particular part of your job that you find hard or easy?
Yes, within our job we deal with a lot of kids get involved in criminality, taking drugs, alcohol, abscond from the unit, and a lot of them self-harm, and it's very distressing to see a child self-harm. We're an open unit, we're not a closed unit, so we can't lock the kids in. Quite often they just walk out the door any time of the day or night. Now, they're not all like that, but it is a very, very distressing part of the job. It's distressing to see them. Sometimes they come back from contact with the parents or their primary caregivers and it won't have gone well. Because generally the kids have been removed from those placements due to sexual, emotional or physical abuse. And they're quite damaged, and it is very, very hard to watch them sometimes. But that's getting a very bad picture of it. It's a wonderful job to see them. We keep them till the day before their 18th birthday, because obviously you're not out then when you're 18. And it's wonderful to see them moving into independent living and getting a job and moving on with their life. But yes, it can be quite distressing.
What skills do you need to become a social worker?
Skills. Well, you do. Well, I'm a parent. I have 2 kids myself, so that helps in the fact that I have 2 grown-up children. You do need. We do a course every year, and it's called TCI. It's Therapeutic Crisis Intervention. Google it. It's from Cornell University in America. And basically what that does, it gives you the skills to, each child will have an ICMP, which is an individual care management plan. So you know what tics that kid. Sometimes if they're in bad form, they put their music up loud. just stay away from me, back off. So we do that every year, and you must do an exam on that every year and pass it 80%. You must get at least 80%. And then within that, then you would know, actively listening. Sometimes just silence is deployed. Sometimes you tell a kid, why did you take 5 minutes out? Why did you go to your room? You know it works for you, you calm down. Unfortunately, sometimes it can be violent, and we have to know how to restrain a child. I myself, in 9 years in residential social work, and I've never restrained a child. So it's just something I don't want to do. I don't want to put my hands on someone. But you would know when to stay. You'd know when to go very quickly sometimes. All around, just your everyday, day-to-day things you do. Just been listening, actively listening to them. They know what you're doing. You know what to do with them. Just sometimes even just go out for a cup of coffee with them. I suppose that's about it, yeah.
What qualifications did you need to get this job?
I have a degree in social work. When I did it, it was a 3-year degree, and it was at the University of Ulster Georgetown. I did it. You also could do it in Queen's. However, it's now a 4-year degree. You do your 3 years of your studying, and you get your degree. However, you do then an AYE, which is an assessed year, and when you're practicing for a year, your team leader will then assess you every 6 months to see that you're fit to practice. And if you're not fit to practice, you'll be removed. Our professional body is called the Northern Ireland Social Care Council, NISCC, and we have to be registered with them. As like doctors have to be registered, teachers have to be registered. So yeah, it's quite a difficult career to get into. They don't really tend to go for kids, I could say kid, but girls and boys at 18 because they don't have enough life experience. So what you find is people will go and do a degree in something else and then come back to social work maybe at 25, 27 when they have more experience of life itself. But GCSEs, well, when I did it in the O-levels, A-levels and a degree.
The holidays are?
Sorry?
The holidays?
The holidays are, I get 30 days holidays a year. However, due to the nature of my job, like I'm off from last Friday. I did a sleep duty Thursday and a Friday, and I quit at Friday dinner time. So I'm off the weekend, and then I'm off Monday and Tuesday. These are my days off for this week. So I get a lot of days off, but we work very long hours. Very, very long hours. Now I go back in on Wednesday. I go in on a sleep duty Wednesday to Thursday, and then Friday into Saturday. So that's 50 hours I'm going to work in those 4 days, and then I'll be off for another couple of days. My holidays I can take myself. I can take 6 weeks off if I want. It's, 5 days is counted as a week. So I get 30 days, and then after 10 years you get another 2 or 3 days. And then you have your 10 days bank holidays, which you can take, because we were open 24/7, 365, like I was working Christmas Day and Boxing Day, so I know 2 days holidays for those. So yeah, the holidays are quite generous.
Would you have to maintain confidential information in that sort of time?
Confidentiality is a very, very important aspect of social work. However, it's not to the individual. If a child comes to me and says, I'm going to tell you something but don't tell anybody, I would say stop. If you're going to tell me and you're in harm, or someone else is going to be harmed by this, or you have been harmed, I will tell other people. And quite often that can be a block in them telling you something, because I can't hold on to individual information because somebody wants me to hold on to it. It's confidentiality is to the betterment of the child. However, when I'm sending emails, I would only use a child's initial and full stop. So if I was sending something about, say there was a Jerry, it would be in G's care plan. You have to be very, very careful when sending emails, because when it's sent. So confidentiality is really, really, really important. I can't go home and talk about my job to my kids or things like that, because that would be a breach of confidentiality. I can't. If I'm down the town with one of the children and I meet you downtown, or I meet your teacher, I have to say, this is my friend. That's how I introduce him. This is my friend, whatever her name is, his name is. because most people would know I'm a social worker, and I do not want to give them that this is their life. It's not their fault they're in care. Nobody wants to come into care, nobody wants to go into a residential unit. Generally, when you come into residential, and I should have mentioned this earlier, when you've been removed from your placement by the trust, it will go on perhaps information given anonymously, and we will then go to what we call a case conference. If we feel that there's child protection issues, you'll be put on the child protection register. Sometimes then it's deemed necessary to remove you from that placement from your parents or your primary caregivers. And you then become a looked after child, a LAC child. Looked after child. If the trust care for you for one day in your life, you're then a LAC child. We would then hold a LAC review and determine where the best place for you to be placed in a place of safety is. We will always look for kinship, grannies, granddads, brothers, sisters, anybody that can look after them and are willing to look after them. If that fails, we look for foster placement. Some foster placements are long term and some are very short term. Some foster parents will only take a child for a night or 2 nights and then they moved on. We try to keep the placements down because it's very traumatic for a child to be moving placements all the time. Sometimes children are up for adoption if they're young enough, but it's a very long, drawn out process and we're trying to get it shortened. It takes years to adopt a child. However, if all of those break down, then you come into residential care. It's not ideal, but it's probably the best that we can do. The next step past residential care, if things are not going well for you, if you're putting yourself in danger or you're endangering other people's lives, you will be placed in a secure unit in Bangor called Lakewood. It's the only secure unit in Northern Ireland. And each trust in Northern Ireland has 2 beds in that unit. Again, it's a very unfortunate thing to have to do, to go to a court and ask the judge to give you what you call a restriction of liberty order. It's not a jail sentence, you've no criminal record. However, if you're placing yourself in constant danger by running away, taking drugs, alcohol, or whatever you're doing, we will have to restrict your liberty. It's an unfortunate part of residential work, but it's a very real part of residential work. And most kids get at least one spell in Lakewood, in that secure unit. If you're involved heavily in criminality, there is another unit in Bangor right beside it. It's called JJC, it's the Juvenile Justice Centre, and in fact it is a youth prison. You can stay, and that is a prison. You'll be sentenced there. Again, very unfortunate, but it's a way of life. Our kids are very vulnerable, and unfortunately there are so many people who will exploit them. I wish the internet had never been invented. That's just me. Having said that, I hope I'm not painting too bad a picture. I mean, we have wonderful experiences. We go on holidays, we go to football matches, our kids are involved in sport, and go to their school. If they're not able to go to school, like most of you guys on a full-time basis, we have other schools called EOTIS. It's education other than in school. So that's ETOIS, education other than school. And there you can go, you don't have to wear a uniform. You can go for maybe 2 hours a day or 2 hours in the afternoon. But you can do everything that you guys do in your curriculum. You can do GCSEs. It's all open to that. So we would like to keep kids in the education system if we can. It's not always possible. When you're 16, you are a social worker from the 16 plus team will take over your statutory responsibility, and their role is to...
Sorry.
Their role in the 16 plus team is to get you ready for independent living. Now we have the trust have little flats that they rent out, and they also have a unit, and it's called MAX, M-A-C, yes, yeah, MAX, and there are 9 individual flats in that unit, and you would go and live there yourself. and it's getting you ready for independent living, teaching you how to use your money, how to buy things, and stuff like that. Just getting ready for independent living. So that goes on from 16 to the day before your 18th birthday. Try to keep the conversation jargon free. Children do not like to be social worked, and that's what they find. They're social worked all the time. So you try to keep it, the language jargon free. We are corporate parents. That's what our role is. So you can communicate many ways with them, just on a speaking. You can leave a wee note. You can ask them to, articulate their feelings, how they're feeling themselves. Sometimes silence is good communication because they don't want to be. Like, for instance, we had a lad in our unit who, when he got perplexed, he went into his room and turned his volume up. Not alone for an hour. You don't go near him because he's in bad, poor form, and that was his way of really just letting you know, stay away from it. So you have to. We are, like every other department in Northern Ireland, we are stretched to the limit with regard to our money. We used to get a lot of money to take kids away on holidays, get them away, but it's just awful. We can't get a penny for anything now. Most of our budget is taken up on wages with our bank staff. And sometimes kids are, what would I say, I'm trying to word this right. Some kids have they need 2 to 1 working, so you need 2 social workers to be with that child all the time, and that takes a lot of our budget away. The kids get £17.50 a week pocket money by law when you're over 16, £15.50 when you're under 16. So as a key worker, I would look after clothing allowance. It's about £150 every 2 months. Christmas, we have a budget of about £285 per child to buy their own what they want for Christmas. The only thing we don't buy is mobile phones. We don't have the internet in our unit, but that doesn't stop them getting it on their phone, as you're probably all well aware of. We encourage, we have 2 great guys working with us, Richie and Barry, and they have started a group called Express Youth. And we do football, we do days away in Carlingford, we went to London with the kids, we went to Dublin to see a football match. It's not all about football, but anything that they can come up with, we try and, it's our own initiative, but we sort of try and get money from everybody to keep it going. But the kids are very, very much like that, Some of them do horse riding, some of them do basketball, some of them don't do anything.
Is your job in the private or public sector?
I'm in the public sector. I work for the Southern Health and Social Care Trust. There are 5 trusts now within our region. It used to be Newry and Warren, it was Banbridge, Craigavon, and Armagh and Gannon. But we're now in that one trust is now called the Newry and Warren Social Care Trust, and we're public sector workers. Generally, it's just the usual way of getting a job. You go for your interview and normally by your team leader and a couple of other people, and if you're lucky enough to get in, that's good, The statutory field social workers would work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. We do right through. We do all 7 days a week.
What employment sector are you from and how you funded?
What employment?
Sector are you from and how you funded?
Well, when you mean employment sector, you mean like, I don't know.
The public sector?
Oh yeah, public sector, yeah. We would be funded by the government. When you start as a social worker, you start out at, there's, you start out at a band. I'm band 6, there are different bands in the trust, I'm band 6, but you start out and over a 7-year period, you incrementally get a pay rise of roughly about £2,000 a year for 7 years until you're fully at the top of your band pay scale, and then you don't get any more. However, we, as residential workers, earn money, extra money. Any shifts you do between 8 o'clock at night and 7 the next morning, you get paid an enhanced rate. You get paid an enhanced rate for working Saturdays and Sundays, and obviously if you have to work bank holidays, you'll get that in lieu. If I worked, as I say, Christmas Day and Boxing Day, so I get paid my money for that. I get an enhanced pay, but I also have 2 days pay, 2 days leave to take at my leisure. After 7 years in, that's the end of your band, that's the end of your increments then. So you're at the top of your scale then. I suppose for you yourselves too, as what age are you girls? 15, 16, 16. You know, to get yourselves, if you were interested in a career in social work, I would always actively encourage you, when you're 18, get your driving licence as quickly as you can, because you need a driving licence to be a social worker. And the other thing is, there are other bodies out there, and one of them is called NIACRO. It's NIACRO. You can Google that. And what you can do as an 18-year-old is you can become an independent visitor to a child in care. So you would be devoid of anything to do with their life as regards social work or anything, but you would go to the unit, take them out, go to the pictures, go shopping, go to football if it's a boy, whatever you like, whatever they like to do, and that's called independent visitor. And we would actively encourage, especially young girls, because they're really, our young females really love that, because it's something for them. You are somebody for them. Nothing to do with social work, nothing to do with me, I don't fund it. And that's called an independent visitor. Have a look at that, it's called NIACRO, N-I-A-C-R-O. And that's what I did. I'm late into social work. I didn't go to university until I was 42. I'm 10 years qualified now, but I did that independent visitors for years, and it's very rewarding for yourself and for the child. So actually, I'd encourage you to have a look at that in a couple of years' time. But you do need a driving licence. You know, any monies that you would be out, you would be reimbursed by that. So you paid to go to the pictures, you will get that back in a couple of weeks. You know, so it does not cost you any money. It's just your time and to be there for them. Quite often those friendships develop for life. You know, we had a girl too now. She did bridesmaid for her independent visitor at her wedding, which was wonderful to see. You know, so they've been friends for like 7 or 8 years, and often it carries right through into adulthood. You know, that friendship never ends. It doesn't have to end when you're out of care. You know. So, anybody else?